A flashback begins as someone raises a hand and swears to devote his life to saving mankind. At the medical school entrance ceremony, the oath continues with a promise to protect medical conscience and dignity. In front of the whole hall, the vow becomes even heavier as they swear never to use medical knowledge for evil. Some people watching the ceremony can hardly believe that such a promise can truly be kept. Then the focus shifts to Na Hyanael, a once-in-a-generation genius who entered medical school at just 13. The flashback goes even further back to August 1994 in the pediatric ward. While the other children happily wait for Santa, young Hyanael sits quietly in his hospital bed, separated from their joy. Someone tells him that being born this way means he was chosen by God. Hyanael accepts his weakness with a calm face and wonders what reason could exist behind such a life. Then he becomes fascinated by a crawfish shedding its shell, slowly linking pain and change with becoming stronger. Young Hyanael starts believing that maybe he was born weak to do something no normal human can do. That thought slowly twists into a fierce obsession, and he decides he will be the one to achieve it. The memory jumps ahead to an emergency, where a gunshot victim is rushed in with no time to spare. Even though the patient is a serial killer, everyone hesitates and wonders who would even want to save him. But in the operating room, Na Hyanael proves himself to be a real doctor by treating the man without hesitation. As he operates, he tells himself this is only a job and that morals should not matter here. But for the first time in all his surgeries, something feels different. His heart starts pounding as he cuts into the patient's body. The more he sees that powerful body, the more obsessed he becomes with understanding what makes it different from his own. That curiosity turns frightening, and he realizes he is going crazy from wanting to see what is hidden inside. He suddenly snaps out of his madness and reminds himself that he is a doctor. Trying to justify himself, he clings to the belief that his duty is to preserve and improve mankind. But when he looks again, he realizes something has gone terribly wrong. In the middle of his obsession, he had opened the patient's brain instead of treating him properly. Horrified by what he has done, he screams and runs out of the operating room. After everything collapsed, he ran away and hid in a small city in South America. There, with endless corpses around him, he found the perfect place to continue his research. He kept experimenting in secret until his theories slowly started proving true. By hunting and killing strong people, he used their bodies to measure and confirm his own growth. Then he began rebuilding himself, forcefully strengthening the parts he thought were weak. He proudly calls himself a new kind of mankind, born without needing a father's DNA or a mother's womb. With that monstrous body, he launches forward like the form he always believed he should have become. That in his mind is his true ideal self. But the clash sends him crashing through the lab, destroying everything around him. When the smoke clears, he is left kneeling in front of the broken chamber, as if facing the result of his madness. After that crash, he instantly realizes his body is wrecked and he cannot move at all. Kim Sung-gu coldly tells him to stay still, because struggling now will only make his death come faster. Staring at the broken chamber, he desperately asks for one answer. He says he spent 30 years chasing strength and enduring everything for this dream. Lying there in defeat, he still cannot understand what Kim Sung-gu did to destroy everything so completely. Kim Sung-gu pauses, then says there is one thing he can never copy. He admits that the man's obsession and effort were real, but he still cannot compare to him. Then Kim Sung-gu reveals the difference, saying he has put in that same kind of work for 65 years. Hearing that number, the man is left completely stunned. Meanwhile, Kim Sung-gu stands there in calm silence, his presence alone making the answer feel overwhelming. Even at the end, he admits there are still many things he does not understand as a doctor. With his last strength, he says he is glad he met Kim Sung-gu before dying. Then he quietly calls out Pietro's name as his life fades away. With that, the brutal fight at Honor Hospital finally comes to an end. In the aftermath, Nathaniel and all the Brazilian killers are confirmed dead. After the battle, Every trace of the glory killers is erased, and only the aftermath remains behind. As morning comes, the dark night finally gives way to a quiet sunrise. On the road back, Teach brings up a question everyone has been wondering about. The group jokingly asks if it is finally time for them to rank up to C rank. Even while joking around in the van, their usual chaotic energy comes back, showing the tension has finally eased. The boys start bragging again, trying to make Teach praise how hard they fought. When Lee Yuna finally answers, even that small reaction makes them ridiculously happy. But while everyone jokes around, Lee Yuna quietly looks toward Kim Sung-gu. She tells herself that everything ended well, so she should feel happy now. Yet deep inside, she still cannot feel relieved at all. A painful memory hits Lee Yuna, reminding her of the promise that her younger brother could have been saved. That old offer about the serum still lingers in her mind, making it clear why she cannot fully relax. Kim Sung-gu suddenly notices her expression and directly asks if she is thinking about her younger brother. Caught off guard, Lee Yuna quickly makes up an excuse, but it is obvious she is hiding what she really feels. Even so, she quietly accepts that with Nathaniel dead and the serum destroyed, that hope is gone now. Kim Sung-gu quietly tells Lee Yuna that if it is her, she will surely find another way. His words calm her a little, and she softly thanks him. The van finally arrives back at school under the night sky. As soon as they get out, the boys start fooling around again like nothing ever happened. Teach cuts the chatter short, tells everyone to get home and be ready for school tomorrow, and the night finally wraps up. As Lee Yuna is about to leave, Kim Sung-gu notices the bag and asks if she is not taking it with her. She casually says it is not hers and assumes Teach must have left it behind. But when Kim Sung-gu mentions that maybe Yujin would like it, Lee Yuna freezes on the spot. The moment she opens the bag and looks inside, confusion quickly turns into shock. Her eyes widen completely as she realizes something she never expected. The moment Lee Yuna sees the serum, tears start falling before she can even stop them. She can barely ask how he managed to do this. Kim Sung-gu calmly explains that Nathaniel never truly destroyed the serum. As he walks away, he quietly leaves the answer with her and says the serum was still there. Overwhelmed with relief, Lee Yuna breaks down completely, unable to hold back her tears anymore. Still overwhelmed, Lee Yuna clutches the case tightly and struggles to hold back her tears. The scene shifts back to the ruined hospital, now standing in eerie silence after everything that happened. As the cleanup begins, even the higher-ups can hardly believe no one outside knows what really happened inside. Looking at the destroyed walls and shattered ground, they're stunned that a human fight could leave behind damage like this. Then the focus turns to the biggest question left behind, whether Pietro was the one who caused all of this. When the question about Pietro is asked again, the report confirms that yes, it really was him. They explain that the proof came from the hospital's internal CCTV, even though no witness actually saw him directly. That strange detail makes the witness say it felt like they had seen a ghost. The moment he says the word ghost, the atmosphere instantly turns weird and tense. Then the poor guy completely loses it, panics on the spot, and starts screaming that it really was a ghost. The guy completely breaks down and screams in pure terror. Then out of nowhere, a hooded figure appears and instantly cuts him down. The masked man hears the word ghost and immediately locks onto Pietro. He gets offended fast, like saying ghost in front of him is a personal insult. Then he coldly asks if this rage is because he killed the boss's subordinate. The hooded monster says this has nothing to do with the dead subordinate. He mocks Nathaniel for dying before finishing the new disciple training. The instructor suddenly calls everyone's attention. The room falls silent as his serious tone makes it clear that something important is about to happen. With a cold expression, he announces that from now on the students will be volunteering for missions, whether they like it or not. One student laughs casually, acting confident. He jokes that he just finished a mission not long ago, yet they already want him again. Being popular with missions is starting to feel exhausting. Another student beside him looks annoyed by his non-stop bragging. Meanwhile, the quiet student calmly admits he isn't sure why this mission was assigned to them. The instructor explains the reason. This is exactly why the volunteering club exists. Then he warns them seriously. Since the mission is theirs now, they better do a good job. The scene shifts to a quiet coastal village. Blue skies, flying birds, and the calm ocean make the place look peaceful, completely different from the tense classroom they just left. But the two boys quickly realize something is wrong. Looking around in confusion, they begin to wonder what kind of volunteering mission the teacher actually sent them to. Soon the truth becomes clear. Instead of some heroic mission, they're surrounded by children who immediately start clinging to them and asking for help, leaving the boys completely stunned. Nearby, a calm female student explains the situation. For the club to be officially recognized by the school, they must perform real volunteer work, not the exciting missions the boys imagined. Hearing this, the two boys completely lose it. They dramatically throw themselves on the ground, crying that their precious bodies were meant for glory, not babysitting and chores. A gentle woman approaches the group with a warm smile. Introducing herself as Yejin, a teacher from UIL High School, she confirms that they're the volunteers sent to help today. Meanwhile, the two boys are still lying on the ground, completely drained from the shocking reality of their mission. Their heroic dreams have clearly taken a serious hit. Soon after, the boys are forced into real work. Wearing straw hats and boots, they aggressively start pulling weeds, proudly claiming they've been volunteering their whole lives. But their enthusiasm quickly becomes a problem. Instead of weeds, they start ripping out the beautiful flowers, leaving the teacher shocked as she rushes to stop them. Watching the chaos, the calm girl quietly remarks that those two are probably hopeless. At the same time, she still wonders why the teachers chose such a distant place for their volunteering mission. The quiet boy explains that this remote village is nearly 500 kilometers away from Seoul, making it an unusually distant place for a simple school volunteering trip. At the same time, a flashback shows the strict instructor reminding them of the rules. Even though it's volunteering, they must stay cautious and avoid revealing themselves or causing trouble. Back in the present, the calm student walks away from the garden, deep in thought, as if trying to figure out the hidden reason behind this strange assignment. He quietly concludes that there must be a specific reason the teachers sent them all the way to this remote place. Watching him act unusually serious and distant, the girl looks confused and wonders why he seems so down today. After working for a while, one of the boys pauses and asks the woman a question, curious about who she really is and whether she's actually a student here. Smiling playfully, she laughs and explains that she isn't a student at all. She's actually a teacher, joking that they must be complimenting her by saying she looks young. Suddenly, a voice cuts in sharply, telling them to stop. The moment interrupts the awkward conversation and shifts everyone's attention. Trying to act cool, the two boys tip their straw hats and jokingly remind her that she's the teacher while they're just students. But the girl quickly shuts them down, telling them to stop talking nonsense. Just then, a friendly man approaches with a broom in hand, warmly welcoming them to UIL High School. The group learns that he's the school's caretaker, and the students greet him politely. The caretaker cheerfully explains that their school is the only school in this small island village, proudly introducing UIL High as if it's the pride of the entire community. Everyone laughs at his enthusiastic explanation, while the quiet student simply listens without reacting much. Looking around the neat campus, one of the students asks what work is actually left to do since the school already looks clean. The caretaker jokingly says there is still work behind the building, mentioning something like a pigsty, then laughs as if teasing them about the unpleasant task. As they begin to follow him, the girl suddenly feels uneasy. Something about this whole situation seems strange, and she can't shake the feeling that bringing them all the way here might have another reason. Two rough-looking men suddenly appear and confront the caretaker, demanding their rent. They remind him that he's living comfortably here because of them. Trying to stay calm, the caretaker greets them politely in front of the students. He explains that the school is poor and they can't even afford heaters, acting pitiful to avoid trouble. One of the thugs smirks and asks if the caretaker brought something for them. The caretaker quickly offers a large bundle, as if it were payment. The bundle turns out to be a huge basket full of potatoes. The men laugh, amused that the caretaker is paying them with fresh crops grown by the school. Suddenly, chaos erupts. The basket flips and potatoes scatter everywhere as the caretaker is violently kicked and sent flying across the ground. The thugs shout angrily, warning him that if he keeps mocking them, he might end up dead. The female teacher rushes forward angrily, shouting at the thugs for hitting the caretaker and asking how they can treat a person so violently. One of the students quickly stops Kim Sungu from stepping in, reminding her that their own teacher warned them not to get involved in local matters. Still furious, the teacher argues that the school clearly has no money and survives only through donations, pleading with them to stop hurting the caretaker. The thug crouches down beside her with a creepy smile and says there's another way she could help solve the problem instead of paying money. Leaning in close and grabbing her chin, he whispers that there are many ways to earn money besides teaching, implying something disturbing and saying that someone like her could make a lot. As the thug grabs the teacher's face, a calm voice suddenly interrupts. Someone says a man's hand isn't meant to hurt women. A tall farm worker wearing a straw hat steps forward confidently. He declares that a man's hands exist to protect, and because of what the thug did, he can't forgive him. Without hesitation, the worker throws a powerful punch straight into the thug's face, sending him flying backward. The bigger thug angrily raises his fist, threatening to beat the man to death, while the caretaker desperately begs them to stop fighting and reminds them the others are just volunteers. But the worker calmly lowers his head, almost bored. He mutters that something strange is happening, like a mosquito buzzing around him. Even while sitting on the ground with blood running from his nose, the man calmly says the punch only tickled him and tells the others not to worry about small things. In the next moment, a powerful shockwave explodes across the ground, showing just how overwhelming the strength behind his attack really was. After the fight, the two thugs are seen lying unconscious in hospital beds, completely beaten and unable to move. The female teacher checks on them, worried and apologizing, thinking they must still be in shock from everything that happened. But the caretaker tells her not to worry about them. Instead, he explains that the men who attack them are gangsters who wander around collecting rent from people because they have nothing else to do. The teacher smiles and explains that despite the trouble earlier, the volunteer students helped a lot. Because of them, the children were happy and the school became cleaner. She tells him to rest for today and talk about everything tomorrow. A man called Captain arrives and checks on him. Looking at his condition, he calmly says that he has improved a lot, surprising the injured man. The scene shifts to a group of large, intimidating fighters confronting another man inside a training room, creating a tense standoff. In a darker location, a suited man stands in front of two strong men, as if giving them orders or questioning them about something important. Suddenly, the fight begins, and the man launches a powerful attack, smashing one opponent with a heavy punch while another enemy is thrown back across the room. The captain calmly explains that true strength is not just about fighting. A truly strong person knows when to hold back and control their power. He also compliments him, saying he looked impressive today. As he leaves the room, he adds one more line: "A woman's tears are meant for a man's rest." Meanwhile, the injured student tries to respond, but the teacher clarifies that the captain wasn't talking to her. He was speaking to him. The story then shifts to a different moment, showing a group of powerful men confronting someone, hinting at another conflict connected to the earlier events. Under a beautiful night sky filled with stars, the scene transitions to a quiet park where a girl sits alone on a swing. The girl gently swings back and forth under the moonlight, her calm expression suggesting she is deep in thought while the night remains silent around her. The girl continues sitting on the swing at night, lost in thought. Her calm face suggests she's remembering something important. Later, someone calls out to Missy in a near car and asks if she's going to take something with her. She turns back in confusion. When she checks the bag handed to her, She realizes it isn't hers and looks surprised while holding it carefully. Inside the bag is a case filled with several test tubes containing a strange liquid, hinting that it's something unusual or valuable. Seeing what's inside, Yuna's expression changes. With tears forming in her eyes, she whispers, "Sungu, how did you get this?" realizing it must have come from him. Standing beside the open van at night, Yuna hugs the metal case tightly against her chest. The weight of what's inside clearly overwhelms her emotions. She thinks to herself that she should have thanked him, but she couldn't. Now she wonders how she can even bring the topic up. Back at the park, the man approaches the swing and gently asks if she's thinking about her brother after seeing the children earlier. Startled by his sudden appearance, she screams and accuses him of showing up like a ghost every time. He looks confused and asks what he did wrong, while she quickly tells him not to worry about it. Still holding the swing chain, she hesitates internally. She thinks that maybe she should bring up the matter now, but she's unsure if she really should. At the quiet park at night, both of them sit on the swings. She nervously calls out, "Hey, Kim Sungu." He calmly replies, "What?" She hesitates before saying, "About that," and he tells her simply, "Just say it." Before she can continue, he unexpectedly speaks first. "Thanks back there?" She freezes in shock, gripping the swing chains, completely caught off guard by his sudden gratitude. The scene shifts to a rainy hospital memory. A message appears, "Come to the clock tower." The atmosphere feels tense and mysterious. Yuna firmly responds to the memory or instruction with determination. No, her expression shows she has already made a decision. She clarifies with resolve, "Go to the one in the park." The moment hints that the park clock tower is the real place connected to the secret she is thinking about. Yuna breaks down crying, kneeling on the ground as the painful memory overwhelms her. Sungu smiles gently and reassures her. He tells her she must have been terrified, but reminds her that she protected him. He adds that her bravery was amazing. Hearing this, she looks surprised and emotional. Embarrassed, she quickly denies it, saying it was nothing for someone like her. He calmly replies that he's glad. Looking up at the star-filled sky, she gathers courage and admits she's curious about something. When he asks what it is, she hesitantly asks if he might be related to Pietro or something like that. She quietly admits that he is far stronger than any killer she has ever seen, even stronger than Nathaniel. He calmly says that when the right time comes, he will tell her everything. Hearing that, she lowers her head, clearly shaken by his words. After struggling to speak, she softly calls out to him. When he asks what she said, she gets flustered, snaps back in embarrassment, then suddenly thanks him, leaving him completely confused. She finally blurts out a loud "thank you," but he says he honestly did not hear it, which only makes her more frustrated. Completely embarrassed, she shouts it again at the top of her lungs, making the moment even more awkward. After staring at him for a second, he tells her to calm down, but that only adds to her irritation. Now fully flustered, she accuses him of doing it on purpose, calls him shameless, and warns him to watch his back. Even as she gets mad, he quietly realizes that this is simply her awkward way of thanking people. After watching everyone grow stronger, he feels things have finally calmed down. With the night now quiet, he decides it is time for him to leave. The scene shifts from the playground to the silent school building. He walks alone through the dark hallway, deep in thought. Then he stops near a lit room, as if something there catches his attention. He finds the night guard still awake and politely asks if there is anything he can help with. The guard jokes around, telling him not to overwork himself and teasing about his own belly fat. The man laughs hard at his own joke while he just stands there in silence. He keeps staring quietly, clearly not amused at all. Since everything seems fine, he decides to head back and respectfully tells the guard to get some rest too. He instantly sees through the act and calls the man clumsy. He reveals that after living with the smell of blood for decades, there was no way such a weak cover-up could fool him. The guard drops the act, and the blood on him gives away his true nature. He explains that he only volunteered for this place, so he could come here without raising suspicion. With a cold look, he says he came here for only one reason, and the tension suddenly turns deadly. The hidden enemy finally reveals himself and names his real target, Simon. He immediately realizes this is no ordinary opponent, but the greatest swordsman in glory. The man's killing intent explodes as his true identity is confirmed. With a twisted smile, the swordsman praises him for figuring it out. Then he coldly declares that soon he will be dead. He explains that even one slash usually creates a tiny opening after the swing. Simon shows the full sword path and says that moment always gives the enemy a chance to strike back. But the instant Sungu looks at him, he realizes something feels completely off. Simon freezes because it looks like Sungu is already seeing through his thoughts. In that moment, Simon gets shaken hard, feeling like the man in front of him can read his mind. Sungu's counter comes out instantly and leaves Simon with 0 openings to exploit. Simon realizes this guy can dodge anything, no matter how deadly the weapon is. In one smooth move, bamboo shoots erupt everywhere and lock down the whole battlefield. Before Simon can react, Sungu traps his footing and completely shuts down his movement. Simon instantly understands it. In just that tiny moment, he's already been cornered and fully restrained. Sungu calmly questions him, asking if the man before him is really Disciple Simon, the so-called greatest swordsman alive. Simon doesn't deny it, and instead hypes Sungu up, saying only 2 people have ever endured 10 of his strikes, and now Sungu is one of them. Even while dodging through the bamboo storm, Sungu stays cold and starts reading Simon completely. Sungu realizes humans repeat habits, and no matter how skilled Simon is, his sword patterns still come from instinct and routine. That means Simon's greatness isn't invincible at all, because once Sungu understands the habit behind the blade, the whole fight starts turning in his favor. Simon says every human has a unique rhythm, from how they walk and talk to even how they breathe. He admits he doubted it at first because reading Sungu like that should have been impossible, but this fight removed all his doubts. The moment Simon becomes certain, he drops his sword like a lightning strike and fully declares himself, making it clear he's done testing. Disciple Simon is finally getting serious for real, and the pressure instantly spikes like the whole bamboo forest is shaking with his aura. This is basically Simon announcing that from here on, he's not fighting as a legend people talk about, but as the real monster standing right in front of Sungu. Pietro suddenly drops the killing intent and respectfully kneels, greeting Simon like a true disciple meeting his master again. He straight up says he missed his Hyungnam, then shocks Sungu by asking if Simon really reincarnated. Simon gives a vague, in a way, and that alone is enough to make Pietro emotional because he genuinely believes Simon had died for good. The whole vibe flips from deadly fight to weird emotional reunion, with Pietro acting relieved and almost childlike, while Sungu just sits there processing this insane reveal. Pietro keeps talking like an old disciple finally reunited with his teacher, while Sungu realizes this fight was never just about power, it's tied to a whole past life level connection. Pietro starts teasing Simon like old times, saying Hyungnam looks good and is even acting cool now, which apparently never used to happen. Simon stays calm and says it is not styling. His hair was just like that when he woke up, then casually admits he is glad Pietro still recognizes his swordsmanship. Pietro praises him hard, saying the title Swirling Sword Saint fits perfectly because Simon's sword skills are still crazy sharp and unmatched. Simon lightly jokes back that Pietro almost killed him earlier, but Pietro laughs it off like he knew it was Simon all along and says Hyungnam was just being playful. The tension is basically gone now. Pietro openly admires Simon again, while Simon downplays everything by saying he has only been holding a broom for years, so using a sword again feels awkward to him. Pietro says everything he became is thanks to Simon, the Hyungnam who taught him from childhood, and then suddenly asks why Simon came all the way out to this remote countryside. Simon stays quiet for a second, then asks back if Pietro heard the news about Nathaniel at Divine Hospital, and Pietro says yeah, he heard the whole place turn into total chaos. Pietro instantly connects the dots and blurts out if that was Simon's doing, and Simon casually admits things just ended up that way. Pietro gets even more shocked and says he had been wondering what kind of insane person could pull off something like that, then quickly corrects himself and calls it amazing instead. But then Pietro's tone turns serious. He looks straight at Simon and asks the real question, why did Hyungnim do it? And starts to fear the answer before Simon even speaks. Simon doesn't hesitate at all. He calmly says he's going to wipe out Glory completely. Pietro gets scared for him right away. He says even for Hyungnim, that's way too dangerous because he knows how monstrous the current Glory has become, then begs Simon to let him come too. Pietro gets fired up and says he'll kill them all himself, but Simon immediately shuts that down and tells him to stay here and keep cleaning up the school instead. Pietro still tries to argue, but Simon calls it by name and asks if he's really going to throw away all the years he spent hiding on this mountain. That question hits Pietro hard. His face changes, and he quietly admits that he still dreams about that night, showing the trauma he's been carrying this whole time. Simon remembers that if Hyungnim hadn't stopped him back then, he would have died for sure. He says that child wouldn't have survived such a brutal place either. He goes even further and says even if his own head had rolled, he still would have stepped in without regret. That's how much Hyungnim meant to him. Those words hit Kim Sunga hard. He looks at the rosary and quietly thinks about his father, like this whole memory is dragging him back to the origin. Then the flashback starts. 60 years ago, the Honor Orphanage was created by Father Gabriel. Out of all the kids raised there, only 12 were chosen. And Simon says he himself was one of those selected children, setting up the dark truth of their past. Simon says life turned into pure hell from that day onward. The dirt of the hills became their food, and every single day was just a fight to stay alive. They were treated worse than animals and forced through brutal training. Only 12 managed to survive that nightmare. Those 12 survivors were then raised higher and turned into the nation's hidden weapons, the 12 disciples. They stopped being orphans and became secret agents. Before long, Glory and the 12 disciples grew so powerful that their influence spread across the whole world. Their names started shaking nations. Then one day, a young boy arrived at the Honor Orphanage. Nobody knew why he came, but Father Gabriel personally wanted to adopt him, and that immediately made him special. As time passed, that boy's ambition kept growing. He didn't just want power anymore. He started craving the crown itself. In the end, he actually seized the throne. He sat at the top while blood and betrayal piled up beneath him. Simon completely lost it and charged in screaming that he'd kill him. The betrayal hit so deep he couldn't hold himself back anymore. But Pietro stopped Simon and told him to calm down. He said this wasn't the right time for them to move, no matter how badly Simon wanted revenge. Pietro held him down and made it clear. They had to wait for the proper moment, for Simon's sake and for everyone else too. From that moment on, Sunga made up his mind. He would destroy Glory with his own hands. After leaving Simon behind in the bamboo forest, he quietly returned to school as if nothing had happened. The next morning, UIL High looked as peaceful as ever, but Sunga's eyes had already changed. Now he had youth, strength, and the memories of his past life. This time, he would not be dragged around by fate. And inside his calm expression, one ruthless vow echoed again and again. Glory will fall by my hand. Two arrogant men stepped forward and mocked the others. They claimed that if everyone here is truly human, then the reward should belong to those who actually did the hard work. They questioned why everyone keeps supporting Kim Sung-gu, acting as if he did nothing while they were the ones struggling the whole time. Their jealousy and frustration become obvious. Teacher Yejin tries to calm the situation, saying she was worried things might get chaotic after everyone left. The two men smugly reply that the gangsters won't be coming anymore. The teacher is confused by their confidence. At that moment, the story cuts to a tense scene as someone asks quietly, "Did you really need to go that far?" The truth is revealed. The gangsters are already captured and tied up, begging desperately for mercy while promising never to return to this area or bother Teacher Yejin again. The threat has already been dealt with. The gangsters hang helplessly over the water while the two men give them a final warning. If they ever return, They'll face the fight of an S-rank killer. Back in the present, the men casually brush it off, saying it was nothing. They claim only they will remember what really happened. The group prepares to leave the island. The peaceful harbor scene shows their trip coming to an end. The locals thank them sincerely for giving the children a wonderful experience. The students politely respond that they also enjoyed their time there. The island worker proudly talks about the school being the only one on the island. Laughing loudly, he jokes about the for-onlys, making the moment feel light again. Teacher Yejin turns back as someone calls out to her softly. The two men excitedly say they'll come back every year to visit her. She smiles warmly and says she'd love that. Kim Sung-gu quietly calls out to the island man, addressing him respectfully. The man shakes his hand firmly, telling him to call anytime if he needs help. Kim Sung-gu thanks him calmly and wishes him to stay safe before leaving. Dark clouds gather over the sea as rain slowly begins to fall. The storm grows stronger, waves crashing violently against the harbor. Heavy rain pours over the quiet island village. Lightning strikes above UIL High School, lighting up the night. Inside the security office, the guard calmly reads a newspaper while watching the monitors. A hand picks up a familiar cap, and the voice quietly says it feels strange. The long-haired man smiles calmly, saying many pleasant things have been happening to him lately. Suddenly, visitors appear in the room. The man notices them and remarks that he wasn't expecting guests. He studies them carefully, realizing they didn't come here to volunteer. A mysterious voice finally speaks, revealing they have found the person who was hiding here. A hooded woman appears and reveals Simon's true identity. One of Father Gabriel's 12 disciples, the swirling sword saint, Korea's best swordsman. Simon stands calmly in the room as the visitors size him up. The mysterious woman questions him, saying she heard he is the strongest swordsman in Japan. She raises her sword, introducing herself as Sword Ghost. Excited by the encounter, she smiles under her hood, eager for what's about to happen. Simon calmly asks the purpose of their visit, wondering if they came to challenge his title. The woman coldly replies she isn't interested in titles. She only came for money. Simon grabs his weapon and answers calmly that she traveled far, but she won't get any money here. He quietly adds that she is wrong about one thing. As he draws his blade, his tone sharpens, showing his anger at her arrogance. Simon declares calmly, "Call me only Korea's strongest." The masked woman smiles, saying she knew it was worth coming here. Simon smirks and says he treats his guests very well. He invites her to settle things with a fight. Both charge at each other, weapons swinging with explosive speed. The clash begins. This duel will end in death.